So the coily piece, that S shape that I was talking about, does not go through the toroid. It's the one that connects to the other side of the power block. Let me get this over here so that I can be. Okay, so the one with the texture on it. I need to make sure. Okay, the little S shape goes to the end of the terminal block here, and the solid one, I have to work it through. The solid one here that comes from underneath, that's going to go through the toroid and connect here. Okay. Also, while I'm up here, I'm going to show you. I found the correct nut that goes attaching the CPU down at the bottom there. It has a bigger washer on it, and I'm going to replace it with the one that I used with this one. I'm sorry, I missed. It goes right here where the where the grounding from the whole battery thing attaches. Okay. I think that's a grounding. I don't know. It's got orange on it, so it's scary. I know that much. Okay. Got to be big enough to admit your mistakes, right? One mistake was I used the wrong nut. In this spot. This is why it was confusing to me. Go back and watch the place where I took this out. It was confusing to me because when I took it out, it needed a 10 millimeter socket. But the nut I used, the thread was wrong. Anyways, this one nut here has a built-in larger washer, and even though it fits the smaller style thread, it needs a larger, it has a larger nut and needs the 10 millimeter socket. That explained, that's where near the end of part 3, I was searching for one of these acorn style nuts that needed the 8 millimeter socket. That's where it was. Okay, another thing I'm going to check here real quickly was whether I need to take this off again in order to route this through the toroid properly. Without putting a big kink in this line. Or whether I can actually, well, there it is, folks. It was almost inevitable that I was going to have to undo something I did, right? I think that I can unclip this long black cable again. One that had the clips that I bent a little bit. And then I can pull it back, and now I can fish. Yes, now I can fish this through the toroid just fine. And I'm going to reinsert this into the clips again. Just kind of figuring out the routing of this thing under here. There we go. Okay, let me bring you over and show you. The coily one with a little S shape goes to the post over here. The straight one that comes off of all the way along down here, comes through the toroid onto this post. Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. I'm off screen now looking for some little nuts again. Somewhere. Okay. I'm obsessing. Just double checking everything here. Everything is good. Remember I got the orange plug in. We still have the white plug and the ivory plug that need to go in. The white plug goes is the second one that plugs into the back of the CPU unit, and the ivory one comes down here and plugs into the side of the toroid. The toroid is this white plastic thing that the one of the orange high voltage cables passes through. It reduces engine noise. It reduces electrical noise. That's what that is. It's a ferrite. Toroid. Torroid. Hey, Georgie. How you doing, buddy? Where's my good guy? Georgie's acting a little aggressive. He might want to play, which gets rough with him. Triple checking everything now. When I put this cover on, it's not gonna. I'm still gonna have the top of the whole CPU area exposed, so that's not an issue. I know what I forgot. The rubber seals, they go around the outside here. They're weatherproofing seals. Here's one in place, and right here on the old battery. This and this. Here's the new ones, and there's where I knew there were new nuts somewhere. I mean, I knew I had nuts I was depending on, and there they are. Oh, nuts! Sun's coming in. They're gonna hit me again, so let me hat up. Okay, you can reach into this bag. And these are the nice new 4 nuts for connecting these high voltage terminal connectors. I was just feeling pretty terrible about reusing these old ones. They have a little bit of corrosion on them. And I knew I was gonna have to go back in after I was done with this video and replace them with something else. But in the back of my mind, I knew in like video number 1 or 2, I talked about the fact that there are new ones here in the package, and I knew that these existed. Silly me. And the weather rubber seals. They look identical to the old ones, but that's not a surprise because they're OEM. Okay, they're stuck on the side of the plastic, and the top kind of aligns with the goodie. They're not the same. This one has a larger gap than this one. So on this side, there's only 2 cables that come through. On this side, there's 3 or 4. So the larger gap one goes over on this side. Peel this paper off. Hey, Georgie. How you doing, buddy? This is Georgie. He's a ham. In that he likes to be on camera. He doesn't have an amateur radio license. Like me. You can tell this adhesive's pretty sticky, but I gotta tell you something. This tape's not. The tape came off these pieces pretty easily. It feels like the tape wants to peel the adhesive off with it. Oh, I know why. Because the tape stays on the outside. Remember, folks, I'm learning too. So, pretty much set flush. Nice. Gotta say, I'm actually happy this stuff doesn't peel off easily, because it's not supposed to come off, and I would have ruined everything. No, I wouldn't have ruined everything. I would have been bummed that I didn't realize it in time. It's pretty obvious where those go. And that's going to seal it up, so when the cover goes over, when the fan blows, it's going to keep the air circulating in the right places. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. This unit. This is all. There's a new one, so I'm just going to use the new cable instead. Right? Okay. So there we go. And then there's going to be 2 studs that go through. I got to remember to connect this to this. Double checking, triple, quadruple checking everything. Before we go ahead and slip the cover over. Now, there is a right way and a wrong way on this. Pardon my backside. There is a right way and a wrong way on this cover, and that's because one side, well, on this side I see 2 big holes at the ends. And, I don't know, let's see, what's the easiest way? The easiest way I remember is that this big sticker was at the other end from the electronic components. The one on that side is more curvy. I don't know. There's a bracket at the end with the electronic components going on. Okay, that was me collecting the nuts and bolts and bits that we need for this guy. This one uses the flanged acorn nuts that have the 12mm wrench. I have these two, let's see, another 8mm. They're going to attach this, these little 8mm bolts. When I say 8mm, I'm referring to the size socket that I need to do the installation. I'm using the thread into pre-existing nuts that are welded to the metal flange there. It's easier when I don't have a handful of nuts. Just tightening them down back and forth until it gets seated. Making sure it looks square and everything looks good, and I'm going to cinch it down. You give a pretty good twist on these guys because, again, these are being screwed into steel nuts on the other side. Okay, there's the interlock. Bolts that use the 10mm head to reattach this side of the main cover. That's what I'm going to call this, the main cover. Screwing into welded steel nuts so we can get pretty good torque on these also. Main cover reinstalled. People, we're getting there. All right. Next, there's some sheet metal and some more bolts that have to go through on both sides that attach this CPU unit back to the battery case. They also are these bolts that use the 10mm head. And yeah, I don't need to stay that far away from what I'm working with. Because it's all sheet metal, I just kind of force this down and in until I see everything line up. When I took this one off, I mentioned that when I took this one off, I mentioned that it was corroded, and I mean that it was really hard to get off. It felt like it had been frost threaded before. I just remembered that. This one went in very easily just now. This one. It's just not as easy. It hasn't had as easy a life. Again, it's a steel nut welded on the other side, so I know I can get with some torque. It doesn't really need much. It's just sheet metal to sheet metal. That's all we're really holding on here anyways. Something I mentioned when I took this apart was that, in fact, on this side there's only one. So there's two on this side, one on this side, on this, attaching this sheet metal enclosure. The electronics portion that has to be transferred from the old battery to the new battery. So I'm putting a total of 3 bolts in right now to finish the attaching through the main cover into the CPU cover unit. That creates one solid unit out of everything here. This unit, there's a cover over there, and that gets put in once it's in the car. The cover goes over here because there's still a connection that needs to be made where the cables from the car lay in here and they attach to these two. Okay, and there are 3 connectors here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And those cables are hanging out right there too. So once this slides back into place, it'll just be clip, 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 and then put the next cover on here and then bolt it into the car. Oh, connect these 2 cables. Connect the thing on the back. Let's do a quick walk around, folks. I think that I just buttoned it up. I believe I just buttoned this up, folks. Back end, the vent tube. This will connect to a place in the car. Obvious spot. Well, folks, I think that think that's going to do it because the next thing is going to be to put it into the car. So here's those 3 connectors I just talked about. Vent hose. The new one's the battery's gonna slap right in there. You're gonna start putting in the middle parts, and it'll take me about an hour to get this thing back together. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe for more YouTube stuff. If you haven't, wait, before I go, if anyone's watching, I can't tell if we're watching live or not. If you have any questions or anything about this, comments, I'll check here. Also, in the comments.